Hey, it's Coach Taylor here from SmarterTeamTraining.com. I'm sure that everybody here on the show, whether you like the show or don't like the show, has watched The Biggest Loser and has wondered what the Jacob's Ladder is. And I'll tell you what, I've talked to Bob Palka numerous times over the course of my career. I'm always ecstatic to have an opportunity to talk to the guy on the phone. He's always tons of energy. He always has a good story. I'll tell you what, he's got a ton of passion and an outstanding business story as far as his journey goes as well. And Bob, man, I'm really honored to have you on the phone here, and I'm looking forward to not only learning from you, but just talking shop in general.
Yeah, Rob, I'm honored as well. I know from our history, we talk all the time, and I'm continued to be impressed with not only what you do on a daily basis, but how you communicate that to the rest of the world. I follow you on Facebook, and I follow you on what you do, and I think you do a fantastic job. So thanks for having me, Rob.
Bob, leading up to this conversation, I sent you a couple questions just to get a little bit of some meat to our conversation, if you want to call it that. And you gave me an incredible story on email, and I'd like you to just tell me a little bit about your passion and a little bit about your experiences in the field that you shared in that email, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, no problem. My background is I'm a degreed engineer and I have my MBA. I'm also a former athlete. I was a scholarship athlete at Penn State in volleyball, and ended up finishing off a relatively successful career there as an All-American. I hopped right into the manufacturing world as soon as I got out of college, and with a couple of large companies, but always had this passion to own my own company. And those two worlds came together, ironically, some 20 years later, after I had worked for some of the large companies. I was looking to own my own company, and it sent out to a bunch of local companies looking for some leads. And somebody came up to me and they said, hey, look, nothing I got's for sale, but if you're interested in listening to an idea, I got one for you. And they told me about this piece of equipment called Jacob's Ladder. And my first reaction is, this is not me. I've been a consumer of this industry for 25 years as an athlete, but I've never been in the industry, so I had no connections to anybody. And on top of that, I've been as an engineer, I was a high-volume manufacturing guy, so I wasn't a startup guy. So my first reaction is, this is not me, but I never like to look away from an opportunity. So I sat down with the inventor. His name was Steve Nichols. Just wanted to talk to him, and I says, give me 15 or 20 of your past customers, and let me talk to them. And Steve's history was that he was a fitness guy for a long period of time in the 60s and 70s, and he actually owned a construction company, but had developed a bad back and bad knees because of running in 5K and 10K races, and developed Jacob's Ladder so that he could get a high-intensity workout without beating his back and his knees up. And his first design was riddled with maintenance problems, and that's actually why he went out of business. He developed this product in 1994, and by 1996 he was out of business because it's just a product that failed an awful lot in the field. And he got what he called was a bad attitude. Then in 1999, he came back at it, addressed all the maintenance concerns, came back out. But he was just selling one or two at a time. And then in early 2002, he had to close up shop again because of a marital divorce. So this product was just sitting in some manufacturing assets and a patent were sitting in a 10-by-10 storage facility, and that's when I found out about it. So I invited him in, like I said, give me 15 or 20 of your customers. And the first thing that I would notice is that he had some high-quality customers. He had people like the Navy SEALs, the Army Rangers, the FBI, Georgia Tech, the Cleveland Indians. And the second thing that I would notice is after talking to these people, that these people love this workout. That not only do they love the workout, but a bunch of them said, hey, listen, every time I turn my head, I got to repair a treadmill. I've had these two Jacob's Ladders here for 4 or 5 years. I haven't had to touch them. And reliability is a huge thing to somebody that was coming from the automobile industry, which I was, where reliability is everything. So now all of a sudden you got my interest. And then I got an opportunity to get a workout in on one, and this is early 2004. I fell in love with the workout. And because I also had 2 herniated discs and some bad knees from playing volleyball. So I put together a business plan, sold it to the bank, and we opened up operations here in July of 2004. As part of the acquisition, I hired Steve, and Steve today, 10 years later, is still with us. In fact, he was integral in developing our newest product, the Stairway, that we just launched last March. It's been going well. However, I think you know this, for the first 5 years, it was tough. We had a tough go.
If someone has never seen the product, actually maybe they've never watched Biggest Loser or never picked up on what it was, how would you describe what the piece is? And is there anything that I need to know before I get started using a Jacob ladder?
Yeah, there is. It's a unique piece, and it's an intimidating-looking piece, because if you go into a gym and you see this Jacob's ladder sitting there, you go, hold it. This is the only cardio piece that I get put on a 40-degree angle. It's the only cardio piece that I need to attach myself to. So your first reaction, I think, when you see something like this is resistance. But there's reasons for that, and I think that you should know those prior to hopping on it. It's a unique design. The first thing that's unique is, like I said, we put you on a 40-degree angle. We do that on purpose because we get a lot of questions from people at trade shows that say, is this adjustable? It's not adjustable, and it's not adjustable on purpose. We put the user at a 40-degree angle to take stress off the lower back by putting the spine in a more neutral position. The second thing is that the unique characteristic about the ladder is that the higher you go, the faster the rungs come. So you control your own speed. If you want to slow down, you just slow your steps down. It automatically matches your speed, which it will play out into a very important part of why Jacob's ladder is not only unique, but why people like it. It's a relatively intense workout, or it can be an intense workout, depending on the speed that you go, because you're lifting your body weight over a 12-inch stair. You're not pushing against a clutch like you are on an elliptical. You're actually lifting your body weight, and that's one of the reasons that strength coaches like yourself, physical therapists, personal trainers love Jacob's ladder, because it's a body weight exercise, and they're lifting their body over a larger range of motion. It's a full 12-inch step versus a step mill, which is also a good workout, but it's only an 8-inch step. So you're using their muscles over a greater range of motion. If you combine that with the fact that you're using your upper body as well, this is going to have a tendency to raise your heart rate up faster than almost anything on the market, and you know this because you've worked out on the piece itself. So those are some of the basics that you should know prior to getting on the ladder. Now, we get a lot of questions about the waist belt. Why the waist belt? Well, the waist belt is the most reliable way that we know of to not only control speed, but to control the braking. Because if you're to misstep on Jacob's ladder, it's not going to throw you off like a treadmill would. It's just going to come to a stop. And that's the most reliable method that we have to control both speed and braking.
I have been on the tool, and I'll give you an endorsement there, but everybody that gets on it, they hate to be on it, but as soon as they get off of it, they're like, I can't wait to do it again. It's kind of a cool love-hate relationship. My question to you, and I know how I use it in my programming or have used it in the past as well, what are some ways that you're seeing it commonly used? Is it just a warm-up? Is it just a conditioning tool? Are people using it for sprinting? Are they putting two together and having a competition kind of scenario in boot camps? How are people using it?
Let me first address your first part, because you brought up an interesting point there, and that is that once people get off of it, they want to get back on it. There's a reason for that. The reason is that they don't feel the pain in their joints and their back that they would from, say, an elliptical, or not an elliptical, a treadmill. Even on an elliptical, there is some bouncing up and down. You don't even feel that on a Jacob's ladder. Because you're always in a positive climb, it is very low impact on your knees, your ankles, and your hips, and your back, okay? And because of that, people will stop working out because they're exhausted. They won't stop working out because the pain in their knees has gotten so bad that they don't want to take it anymore. So, all of us will get off of a cardio machine because of the pain. Now, it either can be pain in your joints, or it can be the good workout pain that makes you stronger. It makes you last longer. It improves your endurance. It improves both your aerobic capacity and your anaerobic capacity. That's the part that people feel good about. So there's a reason why people want to get back on Jacob's ladder after they've quit. But answering your second question, Your second question is, how are we seeing it used? We're really seeing it used in a number of different ways. We see it used in to build anaerobic capacity using in high-intensity interval training with athletes. Because there's no higher end on this. What I mean by that is, this thing, I told you that the higher up you go, the faster the rungs come. This thing will go into a free fall if you wanted to. We have MMA fighters going 220 feet a minute on this thing and getting a workout that they can't get with other tools out there. We have college athletes and professional athletes around the country doing 1, 2, 3 minute bursts, depending on what their needs are. Dwight Freeney owns a ladder in his home, and he used to do 40-second intervals. Why? Because that's what he needs as a football athlete. We have wrestlers that are going in 3-minute intervals because that's what they need as athletes. And like I said, they can go as fast as they want during that time frame because there's no upper end. Because of the full range of motion that they're getting and the low impact nature of the piece, we get a lot of physical therapists that love it, especially in the later stages of rehab for lower back and lower body injuries, because they can improve their cardio performance without beating up knees and ankles and hips. And so we get a lot of physical therapists that like to use it, but they use it at a much slower speed. They'll use it at 40, 45, 50 feet a minute, which seems like a crawl, but you're able to work the full range of motion of a muscle, and you're able to keep that aerobic capacity up during the rehabilitation of injuries. Then obviously we get 60 to 70% of our sales go to health clubs, so we get a ton of people that are in that 10, 15, 20-minute just aerobic workout and feel real good after the workout because they know that they're tired, and they're tired for good reason.
I know when you were starting with the concept of the Stairway initially, the new product that's coming out with you guys, it was kind of under wraps, and you were kind of trying to keep it on the down low kind of scenario. My question to you is, how have you taken the feedback from the original Jacob's Ladder and developed and expanded the product line into the Stairway, and kind of what do you have coming up?
That's a good question. We felt the need about 2 years ago for a stair climbing unit that was, first, lower cost, and 2, more reliable. For 28 years, there was one product on the market, the Nautilus step mill. And Nautilus was selling off their commercial end of the business, and nobody could get parts, nobody could get units. And one of our dealers came to us and said, Bob, why don't you just take Jacob's Ladder, stand the user upright, and replace the rungs with stairs? And effectively, that's what we did. So for 2 years, what we did was we improved on the drivetrain because it's a little bit of a different angle for the person. They're upright instead of being at a 40-degree angle. And we made some minor changes to the drivetrain, developed a different display and a different handle people could hold on to, and we came out with the unit that is, like I said, lower priced, and it's got the same level of reliability as Jacob's Ladder. Because there's no expensive motors or clutches to fail in it, it lasts forever. So that's what we did. Right now, in terms of future products, we're really not working on anything new down the road. We're just trying to get good at what we do with the Stairway, Jacob's Ladder, and Jacob's Ladder 2.
I want to talk to you a little bit as a businessman, and obviously you've taught me a lot of lessons here going into the private sector and more of that business mindset. How important is developing a brand when offering a product to the public, and what things did you consider before releasing the products?
I think it's real important, and I think it's important to develop a brand in the right way. You broadcast to the public what your product represents in your marketing efforts. So in our case, we produce a product that delivers a high-intensity, low-impact workout. That it is safe because if you were to stop climbing or if the misstep is just going to come to a stop. So that's what we proclaim to our audience and our target market. We don't project Jacob's Ladder as a replacement for a treadmill. Treadmill walkers like to walk on treadmills. They don't like to climb on Jacob's Ladder. So if you're really looking for something for treadmill walkers, Jacob's Ladder is not your answer. Jacob's Ladder is really something that the 30 or 40% of your clientele that is looking for something engaging and challenging and good for their body. If you're looking for something for that group, this is right in their target. And that's the way we project it. We project it that way, and so when the product is delivered to them and it meets their expectations, we hit a home run. Now we have a customer that's coming back to us. If we were to project Jacob's Ladder or the Stairway, something that it's not, then once they get the product, they'd be disappointed. So we're very cognizant to sell Jacob's Ladder to those people, to those organizations that are looking for something that we believe fits their needs. And we spend a fair amount of time on the phone with them talking about that. And I think that if you do that and if you do it correctly, then you start to develop what everybody refers to in the marketplace as brand equity. And that's a big deal.
I want to talk a little bit about the new product here, the Stairway. And I want to ask you a little bit about that process, the evolution of being an owner and going through the steps from concept to actually getting it out to the public. But what things went easy and what things were difficult with the process of developing the product?
Things that went easy was we knew that we had a good drivetrain in Jacob's Ladder because we had experience with it in the market. Our warranty costs are almost nil. Okay, so we knew we had a good drivetrain. But we knew that we were also entering a market that was unlike the Jacob's Ladder market. This was a market of people that already knew what stair climbing was about. The stair climber, like I said, the step mill had been out in the market for 28 years. So we were going after a market of, we didn't have to educate people on how to climb a ladder. They knew how to walk upstairs, which is different than how we approached Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder was much more of an educational process. So we knew that was the market that we were entering. We just had to provide a product that was, like we said, lower cost and more reliable. So that part went relatively simple. But the difficult part in developing a new product is when you're a small company like we are, and we can't promise huge volumes to suppliers of plastic, suppliers of electronics, suppliers of handles, because we manufacture everything here, but we rely on suppliers for those specific parts. You can't promise them large volumes. They move slow. So our development process moved a lot slower than we would have liked. We started developing the product, well, now it's 3 years ago, but from our perspective, the product could have been out to the market after about 9 to 10 months in development, and it took a lot longer to develop it. So that was our biggest hurdle.
I want to ask you a little bit of a technology question, and for anyone who hasn't actually been on a Jacob's Ladder, there's a heart rate monitor that actually reads some numbers when you're climbing, and you can actually see your heart rate. But my question always is, and then some of the staff even, just jokingly, I mean, when are we going to get a TV in this bad boy and that type of thing? I mean, what kind of training aids and technology aids kind of mesh that you think that could potentially work on, that process of developing products?
Right. As far as TVs and that type of thing goes, we haven't gotten into it, and the reason we haven't gotten into it is for a couple reasons. First, most of all, in most cardio areas and health clubs, there's already TVs that exist. Secondly, we don't want to take on anything that we can't do reliably, because we believe that that's the biggest issue when it comes to cardio equipment, is how often you have to replace it or how often you have to replace parts in it. So if we can't do TVs or different types of electronics like touch screens and that type of stuff reliably, we don't hop into it. And we also don't believe that that's what's really important to our target market. And again, our target market is those people that are interested in something challenging and engaging and it's good for them. We believe that group of people typically, gets workouts in 10 to 20, 25 minutes, and they really are not interested in watching TV in that time frame. Again, the treadmill walker is not our target market. However, we have toyed around with different racing options like Espresso Bike whether it's electronically tying machines together or just racing against yourself, what maybe be your best time or your last time on the machine. We have toyed around with that. Right now we don't have a solution for how we get there because, again, we're not going to enter into that until we can do it reliably, but we have toyed around with that.
I want to talk a little bit about the research and design and the trial and error that goes into trying to make something work when you're, again, developing that product. I understand that Jacob's Ladder was kind of almost put together for you when you got there, and now the Stairway is kind of coming out, so I'm sure you're getting a chance to see both lines of the spectrum, something that's already sort of been established as far as patent go and that type of thing, and then developing your own personal one and seeing through that process. My question to you is, when developing your product or your unique technology as far as the training tool goes, I mean, what was the process like from a trial and error standpoint when going through the research, design, and development of the product before it went to market?
It's a great question. And when you're talking about developing products, there was a line from a movie that I remember way back in the 80s called Body Heat, but I've used it in reliability and developing new products, and that anytime you develop a new product or make a change to your existing product, there's 100 ways that you could screw up. If you think of 25 of those ways, you're a genius, and none of us are geniuses. So you have to somehow put into the design process the ability to test your product and to try to test it to failure, which is a difficult thing to do a lot of times, especially when you have a reliable product already in place. So what we actually did, and what was part of the process that we used, was we actually it's called beta test. And that's just taking a prototype of your unit and putting it at a gym and asking them to beat the hell out of it. And that's actually what we did. We took our prototype, we went to a local gym, and we set it up there in fact, it's still there. It's been there now for 2.5 years. And we asked them not only to beat it up, but more importantly, suggest things to us to make it better. And one of the things was that they suggested was depth of the step. That people, depending on your shoe size and how you walk upstairs, they wanted a deeper step. So we not only widened the step to 6 inches, but we gave them depth behind the step of 9 inches. So it's a full 9-inch area that they can place their foot. We tilted the display up so that the display could be viewed more easily from a normal position. So we got a bunch of feedback. There was probably 8 to 10 things that we got feedback from that we made changes in the final design before we went to market.
I know you get a chance to go to a lot of different trade shows as a business owner and a guy that gets a chance to make a big-time impact on a lot of different people. My one question to you from a motivational aspect is, I mean, what's one big thing that you wish you knew then that you wish you knew now, kind of thing? That type of concept of becoming more experienced leader in the field. And what kind of motivational messages do you have for people that are really trying to step out there? I know you have a great story as far as some of the ups and downs that your business has gone through, and if you wouldn't mind giving an opportunity to share them with people, I think it could be a really cool message to lead this conversation with.
I told you before in conversations that you and I have had, Rob, that our first 5 years were tough. Before we got some good international distribution and before we got on The Biggest Loser, our first 5 years were tough. In fact, I came $235 from going bankrupt. The thing that held me and kept me going in this was the fact that I had a bunch of people out there saying that they loved the product. And I took the stance, instead of just dropping the product and going on to something else, I took the stance of every day I'm alive as a company, I grow stronger. And I think if you take that stance and just keep pecking away, that good things will happen. It might not be exactly what you think is going to happen, but good things are going to happen. And I think if I was to talk to somebody that's just starting out in business, that would be what I would tell them.
Well, Bob, man, I know that you and I get a chance to talk, like we said, on a fairly regular basis, and I really applaud your passion, and thank you very much for always being willing to share some of your business savvy experience with me, and just talking shop at times just to hear a different voice. And again, anybody who's listening to this show, I'll speak on Bob's behalf here. Bob is a very genuine guy. If you want to shoot an email or give him a phone call, he will pick up the phone. There's a lot of CEOs that are busy or sometimes too busy to respond to everybody, whether they want to or not. I'm telling you, Bob does get back. He responds to his own emails, and it's really a cool, genuine answer and interest for the people that actually get a chance to not only use his products, but just for life in general. So if anybody has any questions about Jacob's Ladder, please obviously go to the website and that type of thing, and I'll talk to you through that. But from a one-sided conversation here, from my own experience, Bob's a top-notch guy, and I would genuinely suggest if you ever get a chance to see him at a trade show or whatever, walk up, just shake his hand, talk shop. He's not a used car salesman by any stretch of the imagination. You'll have a good time with the interaction that you have. And again, Bob, man, really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to have a chat. If anybody had any questions about anything that we talked about, wanted to learn more information about Jacob's Ladder, or even just get in touch with you for any reason for that matter, how could they go about reaching out to you?
Yeah, sure. You can give me a call right on the phone. We have an 800 number, 866-697-4100, or you can just hop on our website at jacobsladderexercise.com. If you're interested in the product, or if you just want to zip me an email, the info@jacobsladderexercise.com email that's on our website comes directly into my box. Like you said, Rob, I try to address everything as fast as possible. Listen, thank you very much for having me on the show today.
Well, Bob, man, I know that we just got blasted with snow, so I'm going to try to let you be. I know you get a little less than we did. We joked again before the show started, but I'm going to get outside and get going, and I know you're a busy man as well. So, again, thank you very much for taking some time out of your day, and I look forward to just keeping in touch, big dog.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Have a great day.